Waka waka, a 4 points, who gives up? But other Reds staying up. Welcome to the full details on the PSR breach. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to a further update on the PSR breach from Nottingham Forest. We will, of course, tonight go live again at about 8:45 with the Grumpy Old Reds to talk it all through. But as things are breaking and developing, we will keep you posted throughout the day. So I've been reading the 51 or 52 page report. Wow, yeah, I have no life. But just to save you guys reading it, I thought it would be worth it. So, just for that alone, please do like the video. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. Please make sure that you do download SofaScore. The best football app on the planet is completely free to download. The link's pinned in the comments. Please do me that very small favor. I do appreciate it. Okay, let's get started. So, Forest breach was 34.5 million over the 61 million limit. So they literally blew it out of the water. Now, to explain how we got to our 4-point deduction, probably the best way to do it is in Kieran's words. And this is how it happened. So automatically, Forest get a 3-point deduction for breaching. That's your entry level. That's like if you go 1p over the PSR threshold limit, be it the 105 or the 61. In our case, bang, 3 points slapped in your face. Now, Forest then got a further 3 points, circumstances and scale of the admitted breach. Basically, the Premier League said, you are so far past the line that you are a dot, to quote Joey from Friends. So Forest were given another 3 points for that, which made us at a total of 6 points. But then, because of mitigation, because of the way Forest approached it with the speediness, with the openness and everything, they gave us 2 points back. So let me just read a couple of statements for you from little clips I've had. Forest arguments that a third should have been deducted for an early plea. So Forest wanted another point deducted off the total because basically they admitted to their guilt early, like you would in a court case, for example, and then you'd barter with the judge for a lesser sentence. The commission notes that the sentencing guidelines and the various authorities cited by Forest, however, it further notes that in those cases where, mainly in criminal cases, as I just said, a primary objective is to punish the offender. As noted above, there is a lesser objective in a case such as this. The commission did not feel compelled to deduct a third for an early plea. Rather, it determined to deduct 2 points for the early plea and cooperation together. So I think on that point alone, Forest will appeal this decision. And what's becoming clearer now is the minimum you can have is 3 points. So we got 4. So this plea will be, this appeal will be over the 1 point because Forest didn't wanted the point taken off because they plead to their guilt early. So I think it makes sense now for Forest to do this. What do you guys think? Should we appeal over the sake of 1 point? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, let's move on to the next bit, which is the actual appeal. Now, Forest have 7 days to decide whether or not they want to appeal the decision. And I think they should take every minute and every hour of those 7 days and just think it over and mull it through. Now, something we were debating earlier on the live stream is, well, is there a punishment? Could the punishment be reversed and be made bigger for Forest if they were to appeal? Well, the short answer to that is no. The Premier League, though, have the right to appeal the independent body's decision. So if they don't appeal, if the Premier League are happy with a 4-point deduction, the only thing that can happen on Forest's appeal is that the points get reduced or it stays the same. It's not like the red card scenario that we were talking about early. But if the Premier League do appeal it, then that could be increased if they win their appeal. Now, my gut feeling says the Premier League won't appeal it because they don't want things like this to continue longer and longer and elongate it. And then especially if Forest are appealing as well, it could get quite messy. So I feel the Premier League won't appeal this one. But Forest have got 7 days. But then the answer to this may not be completed until post the end of the Premier League. There is something about me that's thinking that Forest may not appeal, but I just think it's worth it. 1 point is valuable in the Premier League. And there's a few other things to just bring to your attention in terms of the case itself and what Forest used as their baseline and what they were talking about. They said they were in a unique position. They were talking about how the likes of Bournemouth and of Fulham, who came up with us, had previously been kind of yo-yoing with the Premier League and the Championship and had parachute payments. Forest were coming up with no parachute payments, no nothing, and tried really and knew they had to spend to establish themselves in the Premier League. They claimed they got no sporting advantage by the breach. And what did they mean by this? They meant really looking at Everton. Everton gained a sporting advantage for their breach because they ended up staying technically in the Premier League. Forest is saying, in our breach, we didn't. Our breach was basically Brennan Johnson, or Person A, as they refer to him. And that was our breach, and we didn't gain a sporting advantage. Well, technically, you can kind of see what they're saying, but why did we feel Johnson out in Arsenal in a couple of games at the start of the season if he was the one that was going to be sold? And what's interesting as well on the Johnson point is that there were bids for him from Atletico Madrid for about 50 million euros, which is about 42 million pounds. Now, those bids, we now have the dates on those bids. That was, they weren't in time. The whole Brentford one was quite interesting. Brentford's first bid was on the 21st of July, and that was for 32.5 million. They then increased their bid to 35 on the 24th of July, and then a final one on August the 28th for 40 million. And Forest felt that all of these were too low. The Atletico Madrid bid was on the 30th of June. That was the first formal offer. However, that was the deadline of the PSR. So even if Forest had accepted the 40 million the 50 million from Atletico for Brennan Johnson, there's no way that everything would have got done there. But that does beg the question of, well, if they had gone for that Atletico Madrid bid, which was probably about, say, £5 to £6 million cheaper when you do the conversions than what we got for Spurs, that would have been like, at least they could have said to the Premier League, we accepted a bid on the 30th of June, but things didn't, play out in time and what have you. So I don't know, but that one didn't fly with the board, especially as we ended up using Brennan Johnson down the road. So they didn't see that. There's a lot of talk about a case with Sheffield Wednesday. Look, we'll probably do another update on this or do it on the live, but it's just some headlines on there. The final thing I want to talk to you about, guys, is Everton. And for all the Everton fans watching, I think they've been treated harshly. I really do. Because, look, we'll banter with our boy Everton Mike and, a few of the other Everton channels that we know. But when it comes down to it, I feel they've been treated harshly. And I'm looking at this, I'm subjective, obviously, and biased towards Forest. But it does make you scratch your head a little bit. When Forest went £34.5 million over, Everton went £19.5 million over. I mean, if you look at that in terms of a percentage of what your allowance is, with ours being 61 million, that puts us over 50% over in terms of our breach. And Everton, a percentage rise from the 105, or someone can do the maths in there. So I think it is a little harsh on Everton. However, it seems to be that this whole approach that Forest took in terms of being open, honest, open door policy was more favourable with the Premier League and the appeals committee, etc., than the approach Everton took. And also the other thing is, it is felt that the approach, the sporting advantage gain from Everton was a higher tariff because they stayed up in the Premier League because of it. But I still do think it's quite harsh, because We got 4 points, or 6 points technically. Everton got 10. So I'd love to know what the breakdown was in terms of how that was worked out. But I'm still standing on my stance on this. I think Everton should have had all their points back, and so should Forest. Because this is corruption. And nothing should be done on taking anyone's points away until Man City have met and answered to their 115 charges. It's an absolute, utter joke. One more thing to add as well. This one made me laugh. Forest projected, then they basically said that it's hard to judge where you're meant to finish or how much revenue is going to come in and out through your door because players' prices can fluctuate, positions in the Premier League, etc. can change. Forest were working on the assumption that they were going to finish 12th in the Premier League, and they ended up 16th in the Premier League. And that would have been a good few million more. It wouldn't have been that much. It probably would have been, 5 to 10 million more. No more than that. So we still would have been over the breach. But that was one of the reasons that was stated by Forest. There's plenty more. There's plenty more. I need to go through the rest of the document. I'll fill you in on any of the other interesting stuff on the live stream tonight. So, please for me, because it is quite long and boring and legal jargon, and and shout out to Kieran. We're having to chat to Kieran. We'll get him on to a live stream shortly as well. Because we're putting so much pain and effort into reading this crap, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And go download SofaScore. It will make the pain a lot easier for us on reading this. And yeah, as we said at the start of the video, wacka wacka a 4 points, who gives an F? Forest is staying up. Come on, you Reds.